Hello everybody, and welcome to DayZ. This is an interesting video to make because it's surprising that I haven't really done any of these particular videos on my channel. You would think with me playing a lot of Project Zomboid and survival games that DayZ would be, right on up there with the types of games that I would play. But it isn't. DayZ was something that I toyed with in Arma 2 for a little while and kind of left alone for a lot of reasons, and those reasons were really important to me. DayZ presented a really interesting concept, that survival genre, that zombie survival genre, on a multiplayer scale, a grand multiplayer scale. And I really loved the idea, but it came with a few caveats and a few problems, and a lot of this is chalked up to that it was a mod. But one of it was that it was very heavily military. And that just comes with it being an Arma 2, but DayZ, set in the Arma 2 as the initial vanilla mod, was very military-centric. Your character wasn't just a nobody scrapping by. There were military guns everywhere. Everything was really kind of volatile. All the camo, there was lots of camo, and you just felt like you were kind of this army man who was left out without his gear and set in a world full of zombies, of which were really kind of acted weird. You had to go get your armor back, your camo back, your weapons back, and that was just part of the game. But it kind of came really easily. There wasn't a lot to worry about. Second, player versus player became the norm. Because, and this kind of coincides with the zombie problem that I had, the zombies were not threatening. They were fast, sure, but you could get away with them. You could exploit their AI because they were basic and go into a building where they couldn't run, they could only walk. Outside they were lightning quick, and they were just generally a nuisance more than anything else. And because they weren't a threat, it allowed or made players look for their own fun, and their own fun turned into killing one another in hopes of finding something fun to do. It became less about surviving in a zombie apocalypse and more about hunting other people because there was nothing better to do. Second, or should I say, that's kind of like second and third. So that was actually some of my biggest gripes. And then, following that, there's a dead sheep there. That actually worries me a little bit. Following that, the control scheme of Arma is not one that is incredibly, I would say, intuitive and forces a lot of learning. There's a big steep learning curve, and since it's heavily a military simulation game more than anything else, there's quite a lot for you as a player to have to learn, and that kind of put me back. I did put in the time to learn, but because everything there in that game was heavily PvP focused, it took a lot of the fun away from me, and it turned into a free-for-all more than anything else. But I actually got Arma 3 a while ago, and Arma 3 is a fun game, and the reason I picked up Arma 3 back in its alpha stage is because it's cheaper. And one thing I did learn about the Arma series back when I initially picked it up for DayZ was that Arma is actually really home to lots of cool mods. And that's like Wasteland is one of them, Life is another one, and Arma 3 is no different. Arma 3 is a much better game than Arma 2. Technically, it's still kind of poorly optimized compared to a lot of other AAA games out there, but I wouldn't necessarily call Arma a AAA game. But its modding potential is great. And DayZ Breaking Point has been being made for Arma 3 for quite a while. And Breaking Point was actually a DayZ mod for Arma 2 a while ago. And from the way I read, I did do some research on it. They made some relatively poor design decisions and eventually killed off the Breaking Point community. And Breaking Point was not really a mod or a DayZ mod that anybody played anymore. But they kind of learned from their mistakes, and they created a Breaking Point DayZ mod for Arma 3. And I decided to check it out. I've played probably about an hour and a half of the game so far, and I'm actually really liking it. And the reason I like it is because they actually fix a lot of the problems that DayZ on Arma 2 had. One of the biggest ones, if you didn't notice, is that the zombies work differently. And they're totally realistic, I guess. They're very true to the zombie fiction. They're not sprinters like they are in DayZ. They're shamblers. They're fast shamblers, but they're shamblers. They don't act sporadically. They're not like zigzagging an insane amount like they did in a lot of other ones. And they are generally a threat. In DayZ, the original, you could kind of... Yeah, that's a person with a shovel. It's another player. In DayZ, you could kind of know when a player was around because zombies would just run in crazy general directions, and you would learn where a player was because there'd just be a train of zombies. But now all zombies kind of move in a lot of random different ways. I'm going to actually get down here. I don't know if he noticed me. We're going to see here. But because zombies are kind of fixed in this one, they're a threat. They're no longer, they just wander around in a realistic way like you would expect them to in an area like, in a game like this. So with that being the case, you never know if the zombies are shambling after somebody or if they're just shambling randomly. So that's a big one that was fixed, that I'm really happy was fixed in the long run. This guy's going into this house while he goes up there. I'm going to go ahead and make my escape now. So that's a big one. Another one is that the game does go out of its way to make you feel like you're kind of just another scavenger, another man in the machine. You're not military per se. You're just a person trying to survive in this awful world. And it's presented in the way your character looks and what you start with. I mean, if we go into our inventory real quick, which we can go ahead and do right quick, you literally start with just a shovel and a backpack, and that's it. And you have civilian clothing. If I go into my bag, you get a little bit of medical supplies, but that's it. And the way your character looks, and to me, is really important in the way these games are played. I'm having some frame rate issues right now, so let's see if I can fix those really quickly. But I want to get behind a wall before I halt the recording and jump back in. Let's get down here. Alright, I messed around with some settings. The frame rate just seems to be kind of steady at where it is, which is unfortunate. The reason that it's probably the way it is, though, is because we're draw distancing super, super far. But what I was saying, so the inventory, you don't start with a lot. Also, there's a lot more items in this game. It's not just ammo and bandages and guns. What the game is actually really good at spawning in a whole bunch of useless stuff. There's a lot of just random trash that can be spawned. On top of that, guns and ammo is pretty sparse compared to DayZ itself. I'm actually enjoying that things are rare. I'm actually finding myself scavenging for things. I can't find exactly what I need when I need it within the first 10 or 15 minutes of play. I was really lucky in my last life that I was playing to find a map as fast as I did, which took me probably about 20 minutes of play. And something like DayZ, the original vanilla mod, I think this would have taken, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And there's a few reasons for that. Primarily being, let's just try and take this guy out. Primarily being the fact that, maybe Chernarus is a smaller map than Altis. But on top of that, the item spawn rate, or the items that did spawn, were much less than the ones that are spawned in this game. And because of that, you kind of came across your military guns and everything really, really quickly. So that's something that has been fixed, really, to my pleasure in Breaking Point for Arma 3. Something that's, again, different that I actually just touched on just now is that, there's a zombie. I don't know if he's coming in here. He might not have seen me. Alright. He's right out there. He might have seen me. We're going to go ahead and smack him. Go ahead and kill him off. Is that the Altis map, I wish I could show it to you, is gigantic compared to Chernarus. Chernarus is, again, relatively small compared to Altis. Altis is huge. And this is both good and bad. And the reason I say it's both good and bad is because Altis, with its size, means that traveling and everything is actually something you kind of have to think about. Do you have the resources to get from one point of the map to the other? Do you want to risk potentially making that trip and getting killed along the way, especially if that trip involves going around potentially what's really a populated city? Do you have the weapons and ammo to make that trip if you do come across any hostilities, etc., etc., etc.? The downside to that is, as of right now, this is the first public release of this particular mod for Arma 3. The downside to this is that there's only allowed maximum of 50 players on a server. So population is going to be sparse to come by. In a game like this, in DayZ, it's all about the player interaction. Are you going to team up to survive? Will you negotiate for food? Are you just going to end up killing one another? Etc., etc., etc. And, with a huge map and not necessarily a whole bunch of people to trade or talk with, because the map is so big, the chances of having those player interactions is smaller and smaller. And that's something that might be fixed as the game gets more and more developed. We see more and more people playing, and the maximum amount of people allowed in any particular server goes up. With luck, it will. And that's a big thing. What's yet to be seen is if this game is going to be as player versus player as the original DayZ. What do we got in here? Some food, potentially. That's something we've yet to see. So I'm curious to see if that's something that's going to end up happening. I hope it doesn't. I really, really do. I really hope this game ends up being, better in the long run. Some flares, nothing really useful, than DayZ until we get the standalone at least. And that'll be interesting to see, the similarities between the two, because I know Rocket and the team behind the DayZ mod, or rather the standalone now, are really looking to turn that game into what DayZ was always meant to be. And that's what, that survival game that everybody's been really hoping to get. So, we'll see. I have been enjoying my time with this game, all that being said. So, some general things that probably need to be said, and you may already know this from playing other games that are like it, just in case it works the same way. There is no HUD as far as your thirst, hunger, and blood are concerned. Those are not present. You still do get hungry, you still do get thirsty, you still do lose blood and get injured, but it's different. Instead of, getting a little meter on the side that tells you, you have to listen to your character for cues. Is this a hatchet? This is a hatchet. Oh. Oh, really, dude? Really? And I got killed. He just swung at me and killed me. So, we'll restart up here real quick. That's fine. So there is no HUD that dictates if you're thirsty, hungry, or whatever. You have to listen to cues. So if you get hungry, your character, you're going to hear like a stomach rumbling kind of sound. If you get thirsty, your character will start panting. If you start losing blood and getting injured, your color is going to start draining from your monitor, and the way everything looks is going to start draining. That is a character talking. I don't know how to talk, actually. I should probably look at that here. It's going to try again, loading up in 30 seconds, so I'll be back in 30 seconds. Alright, 10 minutes of troubleshooting later, and I was finally able to get back in. It seems like there was some problems relogging in for whatever reason. I had to do a lot of troubleshooting. Oh, we're locked in look over shoulder view, but I'm back in. So, yeah, generally speaking, I really like it. I like the changes they've made. It makes the game a lot more immersive. In games like this, I want to be immersed. That was one of the big reasons I ended up going to Project Zomboid over DayZ when DayZ released. The idea of DayZ was really great. I loved the thought and everything of what DayZ proposed, but because of the community, because of the game it was based on, and because of the way that it was modded, or I should say because it was a mod, I was just taken out of the experience, which is unfortunate, but I'm excited because it's interesting. Project Zomboid is everything I wanted DayZ to be, but it's different in so many different ways that it's totally a separate game. The single-player and multiplayer perspectives on both of them are exciting. And it's funny because something as simple as a first and third person shooter can totally change a very similar concept at its core just by being what it is. So I'm going to play a little bit here. We're going to try and see how I survive, see how well I end up doing, and we'll continue. So I did load up here with a hatchet. I did get a hatchet instead. I think that's what this is. A hatchet. I can cut wood down to use some things. I believe that I can cut wood down. There's wood I can pick up and create fires with. There are cars in this game, but they are so broken, so beaten down that they have become an endgame thing, which I'm really happy about. DayZ, I think Overwatch it was, threw cars at you like crazy as far as I understand. And if you're going to have vehicles in a game like this, they need to be not military-grade vehicles. I think helicopters is something else that completely took me out of the experience. But they need to be not military vehicles, and they need to be incredibly hard to get up and running. And that's what this game does. The vehicles and stuff are, pretty important with a map the size of Altus. And with them being so goddamn hard to repair, like, you need 4 tires, you need a toolkit, you need a tire iron, you need to make sure everything gets fixed up. With all that being necessary in order to get the car up and running again, it's exciting to see that they've kind of balanced it in that particular way. Is this something I can look at? Doesn't seem to. Now, I don't know what the spawns are like in this game. I don't know if they're very similar to how they used to be, or I should say they're very close. I remember one of the big problems I had with the original DayZ is that people consistently spawned in the same areas. And that's how long it's been since I've played DayZ. The last time I played DayZ, they had just switched over your starting items. We used to get a pistol when you first started, and that got completely changed. And that was the last I played of it. What do we have in here? Some glue. We have some electrical wire. I don't know what any of this stuff does. And we have a tire there. We have, what the hell is that? A book, an instructional book, a history book. Lots of useless stuff, unfortunately. So I guess we'll continue on our search here for useful things. I'm just going to avoid the zombies. There's no real reason to fight them. They don't seem to have loot on them. Out of all the ones I've ever killed, none of them have them. But yeah, one of the big problems with the original DayZ is that the spawning locations were so close together, and they were so easily identifiable, people could just go and kill all the new spawns for the beans that they spawned with. I remember the Great Bean Wars was one of the big running jokes in the community in the game at the time I was playing, which was a long time ago. Obviously, that's probably changed, and with all the other different modding communities out there creating different types of DayZs, you can, I'm sure it's a very different kind of game, and you can kind of get the DayZ experience you're looking for now, as long as you're playing the right mod. So with that being said, the idea of cars being an endgame goal is very cool. I like that a whole lot. The map being big is both a benefit and a negative, so, you know, I think they've just done a good job, and I like it a lot. I do think that they've done something very, very cool here. Now the question is, vehicle channel, direct communication. The question is, how do I talk? Okay, like that. Okay. Alright, I figured out, I had this weird muscle memory of how to switch channels in Arma here, and it seemed to have worked. So I'm in direct communication mode, and I will chat with them if anybody comes near next time. Though I think I can type. Yeah, I can. But I'd rather have direct communication. So I'm going to make my way up to this church here and see if anything's up here. This is my kind of game, though. Like, I love these types of games that, you know, this is something I liked a lot about DayZ, even in its original form, is that things take time. Slow-paced games are my thing, and there's a lot of reasons, and I thought about this for a long time as I've played this genre over and over and over again, this survival genre. Why do I like survival games? Why do I like these slow-paced games? And I think about it, and it adds, there's a bunch of reasons I've come to the realization. It adds a sense of realism to it, for one, and realism to me is fun. It also adds a sense of, you know, the sense of accomplishment. You work so hard, you walk so far. What the? Videotape? What? Is that a zombie? Okay, it's a zombie. I heard footsteps. I wasn't sure. Can we just kill you? There we go. Yeah, this game still, man, it still gets my heart racing if I hear footsteps. You know, it adds a sense of accomplishment to the game. This idea of taking time to go places. I don't know how to look at my watch. I have no idea how to look at my watch. I don't know how useful a watch is, in fact. But that's fine. I have a watch. So the sense of accomplishment as I'm looting here, I really, really like it. Bloodsucker balls, nice. And that sense of accomplishment also adds to the sense of loss when you lose your character. You know, you work so hard and you lose everything upon death. And, you know, there's definitely been some people that talked on my channel and on, you know, forums of different games that I kind of played in the past and looked at before, that they hate this idea of losing everything that they die. You know, when they die, everything that they've worked for is gone. And I can see that there's obviously a dividing line there, but I personally really like that. And for me, that adds a sense of terror to the game as well. You know, if you just take out the multiplayer aspect of DayZ for a minute and just play the game as it is, that terror aspect isn't really there. You know, this big open world that has players running around it. You take away that player aspect, and no longer am I afraid of footsteps because I know that they're zombies and you're all alone. And unlike Project Zomboid, that's being a focused single-player experience, the DayZ doesn't have all those intricate things to make survival hard. Sure, you manage your thirst and your hunger, but that intricate damage system isn't there. That construction system, that experience system, none of that is there to add to that sense of loss and fear. And never knowing what's going to be around the next corner in DayZ, if those footsteps are zombies, if they're players, all that entire fear factor of running into the unknown is what makes these games so compelling to me. And I think that's something that is that really drives me to really want to like these games and want them to be the game I'm looking for. Not these PvP experiences that they end up being. Now, what the hell? Where am I? Holy crap, what is this? I hear walking. So I'm going to go ahead and put this ammo here and put this hatchet. Alright, so I have a gun now. And it looks military grade, which is kind of powerful. I can't really take this hatchet, unfortunately. And I can't put this anywhere. So it seems as though we have to either take a melee weapon or we have to take like a good gun. And I'm going to take this good gun. It looks like we're in potentially like a military compound. What do we have here? Subsonic rounds. I have no idea what that means. Grenade thing. We have a grenade now, and I think I hit your knee to use those grenades. And it's a smoke grenade, which is awesome. So we do have some grenades here. What is this? So we've come across some good stuff. So there is attachments you can add to your weapons, by the way, and I just got one. It's like a laser sight, it seems. And that's something in Breaking Point that I wasn't in other games. I know you can add attachments to your guns in this game. Now, the question is, is this something good? Do I like this? And personally, MX rifles, I particularly don't like the idea of military grade guns, and I think this is something that should be, and I think will be done away with in the standalone. But because I'm playing the game, I kind of need to take them for my own self-defense. Peeking around corners, I'm doing an awful, awful job at it. If we come across a player, though, there's no doubt I'm going to kill him. No doubt at all. He is... This guy has taken 1,000,000 bullets. Jesus Christ. But we got him. I think this was the guy who killed me, which is really unfortunate for him. But he doesn't seem to have a backpack that I can loot on him. Okay, well, we're going to back out of here real quick. We shot some bullets. You're going to see zombies coming from miles here. I think he's dead. We're going to go ahead and leave, though. We definitely took some damage there. We're not bleeding, which is good. Ugh, that was rough. Alright, let's head up here onto this roof. We'll go ahead up here and potentially get a good view of the surrounding area. Zombies, I don't think can use ladders. That was a little heart-wrenching. I think that was the guy who killed me before. Now the question is, how much ammo do I have? I did take some damage. Obviously, you can see that my screen is a little bit bleached out. We're going to check my ammo situation. 40 rounds. I guess I still have a lot of ammo, I guess. I can't really tell. But that's fine. I have like 20 bullets left, I guess. Did I just waste all my clips? I don't know. I can't tell. But either way, we got our first player kill. I can hear zombies, I think. We need to be careful. So I can fire from the hip by hitting C, it looks like, and I can kind of use this to fire at the hip. Which is useful, I guess. The problem now is that we're probably stuck up on this roof. If we were to look over the edge here, I'd be curious to see what we've got. We got one zombie there. I think they're wandering in and out. Let's pop open our backpack and eat a little bit of food. We have some painkillers. No small bandages. I kind of want that, actually. I'm going to slap a bandage on me. I don't think I need it, but I'm putting it on. Minor injuries and all. And we're going to have a can of spaghetti to eat. Alright. You have consumed a can of spaghetti. Now, the problem, again, with where we are is that we're a little bit on the surrounded side. But there's still so much to loot. That gun was so loud. Alright, well, I guess we might as well YOLO it and see if we can, Can I... There we go. Had to click there. Oh, that classic Arma hop skip onto the ladder itself without actually you know having a proper animation for that. We like animated ourselves into invisibility and then moved on from there and then kind of popped onto the ladder itself. All right. Pretty sure that was the guy who attacked me. I really am. I'm pretty sure. Doing what I did was probably silly though. And by that I mean like chasing him around that corner. I probably should have left the building and waited for him or something. I am going to pop this door open. I do want to head up to the second floor. Maybe check this building. Another cool thing that Arma 3 has over DayZ, you know, in Arma 2, is that it has a lot of its buildings are enterable. Like, a lot of them, which might be why it has such poor optimization. Nails, useless. Since a lot of these buildings are enterable, there's a lot more places for people to be hiding out. And kind of loot, which is cool. I do like that a lot. But I would say if you have Arma 3 and you want to play DayZ, you're just not happy with how DayZ is, I'd say give this one a shot. You guys might enjoy it. There's already a few hundred players that are playing the game, and that's pretty good for, only being out, I think, publicly for a couple days now. I do want to head up here. Is that a zombie? Or a player? Looks like a player. So we're going to go ahead and see what he had. He had a Makarov, a compass, civilian bag, another Makarov, can of spaghetti, which we'll definitely take, a water bottle, which we'll definitely take. I don't know how to change my weapons. Oh, there it is. So we can go ahead and switch over to the pistol. We're going to go ahead and holster that and switch over to the pistol. We have, hopefully, now these guys move in such a jerky way that shooting them is a lot harder than shooting them used to be. He didn't have, oh man, what? This military grade stuff is kind of crazy how powerful it is. Yeah, I see you. We're gonna go ahead and close the door here. I don't know how zombies get in. Apparently just like that. Jesus, okay. What do we got? Glock. I'm going to take that over this. We can go ahead and put the Glock round in it. I would rather use the pistol. It's a lot less loud. Whoop. Nope. Okay, he apparently got me. Well, that was me giving away my position. We got kind of caught up there. Either way, I think that's a good look at DayZ. The Arma 3 one, the military base has got to be a really popular spot for people to come. But check it out, guys. It's on Arma 3 right now. It makes me really look forward to the DayZ standalone more than anything. I'll tell you that much. Thank you guys so much for watching. Drop a like and a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on the mod itself. And make sure you hit that subscribe button to join either the Survivors or the Horde. And make sure you do hashtag Survivors or Horde in the chat to let me know what team you've joined. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.